Now, even though we just finished reading the Passion of Luke, today really is Palm Sunday, and it's the beginning of the last week of Jesus' earthly life. And Palm Sunday begins with his triumphal entry into the city of Jerusalem, the town of God. And as he rides down the mountain of Olives and begins to climb up the hill to Jerusalem, his disciples and the crowds throw their cloaks on the ground for his steed to walk on. And they cry out words of praise and blessing. Now the question is, why did this crowd go so wild? For a man riding on a donkey, not a big powerful horse, but a little donkey. What was it about this man? This Jesus who made the crowd go wild with joy. What could they see in this man on a donkey? Well, maybe this background story will help us to see, will help us to understand. Now, as Jesus made his way down from Jerusalem, as he made his way down from Jericho to Jerusalem, Jesus was stopped by blind beggars. And the blind they wanted eyes to see. So Jesus healed them. But before he continued on his way to Jerusalem, he said this. He said, "Your faith allows you to see." In other words, what he said is this. It's your faith, guys, that opens your eyes and your heart. Your faith. So now, if it's faith that allows us to see, just what did that Palm Sunday crowd see? Now, I don't know for sure, I wasn't there, but I suspect that they saw Jesus as the chosen one, the Messiah, the royal one who would kick Rome out of their lives and the glory days would return, the glory days of King David. But I wonder if their faith was so strong. It was so strong because it seemed to them that they were on the same path with Jesus. In other words, they felt that Jesus was seeing it their way, and they thought they understood. But that joy, the euphoria of the crowd does not last long. In fact, it didn't even last through Friday of that week. Because by Friday of that week, the crowd is clamoring for his death. But however powerful the voice of the crowd was, and here think of a mob mentality, not every voice in that crowd turned against Jesus. There were those who had eyes of faith to see and a heart to hear. You too can hear their voices on Maundy, Thursday. Come to church and hear their story, and then listen to what Jesus, at what we call the Last Supper, listen to Jesus where, in the words of N.T. Wright, where Jesus doesn't do theology, but teaches faith. And then challenge yourself. Sign up for some time to stay awake with Christ on his last earthly night here in the chapel in our church. And then, on what we call Good Friday, come and join in the story of the cross, and learn about the disciples who didn't do theology, but did faith. They practiced faith. And then on Holy Saturday, come and hear the story of the power of the empty tomb. So to recap this Holy Week, we will hear from those who have eyes of faith to see and those who do not. And although I find it really easy to feel sorry for those poor people who just did not get it, who did not understand what was going on, I wonder just how different we are, or how different I am, from those who have eyes of faith to see. Eyes of faith to see as long as we are sure that Jesus sees it our way. And when that happens, what happens to us? What happens to us when Jesus, as he so often does, does the same thing to us that he did to those disciples, like when he turned their world upside down during Holy Week. And boy, did he turn it upside down. Because as we know, Jesus had no intention whatsoever of reestablishing the kingdom of David when he rode to Jerusalem on Palm Sunday. And we know that because we read the Bible. We know the story. But for us, when we find that Jesus has turned our world upside down, and when things get tough, what will our eyes see? And what will we do? Will we be blinded and then turn away? Or will we remember how Jesus, all through his ministry, never abandoned us, never turned his back on us? What will be our voices? What will be our story? Will we choose to turn blind eyes on God and Jesus? On Jesus, who loves us so much that he suffered death on a cross, not just for you and me, but for all the whole world? Or will we choose to practice faith, even when we don't understand it and we don't get it? Will we choose to practice faith and go out into the world to feed the hungry, clothe the naked, give drink to the thirsty, visit the sick and the prisoners, and bring hope to the abused and abandoned, and continue to practice faith until we can see and we can understand? So during this Holy Week, we will hear about choices already made. Choices like turning away from Jesus or following with eyes of faith until we can see and can understand. And I pray that I will choose with eyes of faith. Amen.